Hello and welcome to Sound and Vision, episode 11. I am your host, again, Ian James, and as always, once again, I am joined by the brilliant, beautiful, and sometimes frustrating Miss Hope Wade.
Hello, listeners.
Cool. So, as I said, this is episode 11, and today's chosen subject, because we're now going into what will be an Halloween period, a period of Halloween, which is sort of 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, my favorite holiday.
Yeah, going into that period now, so Hope insists that it must be all horror.
Of course, because I think it just needs to be more here in England.
In England, yeah.
It needs to be celebrated more.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Less notes on people's doors saying, do not knock for trick-or-treating.
It's sad. It makes me sad thinking about it. It makes me sad. But yes. So it's going to be horror themed throughout
the next 4 weeks.
And probably even after that, but we're just sticking to horror straight on for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah. And because of that, today's chosen subject is Brian De Palma's Carrie.
That's one they do play at Halloween all the time, because in the States, they always play like a ton of Halloween movies or I should say scary movies that people would get freaked out about. So that's one of them.
Yeah, it gets regular viewings.
Definitely.
It gets transmitted is what I should be saying a lot. Okay. The reason I say it's Brian De Palma's Carrie, by the way, because I'm sure a lot of people go, oh, Stephen King wrote the book.
He wrote the book.
He absolutely did. But it's one of those rare occasions, and I'll argue anyway on this, that the film is better than the book. I promise.
Yeah.
Right, and I'll go through various reasons why I think that. But we have to, of course, we acknowledge Stephen King for coming up with the idea in the first place.
Yeah, and I think it was his wife that suggested that he put it out.
Yes.
Because he wasn't going to.
She saved it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he wrote, I don't know, like a chapter or something and put it in the bin.
And she said, she read it, and she's like, no, you need to do this.
Keep going with this,
which,
yeah.
I'm glad he did, because I have big love for anything in a prom.
Yeah.
Like Carrie goes to prom.
This is the prom movie.
This is the prom movie. This is the creme de la creme. Is that how they say it?
Yeah, of prom movies.
Yeah, it is, honestly.
Okay, so the start of the story is Stephen King, who doesn't need any explanation to everyone. I'm sure everyone, if you don't know who Stephen King is, then you
go read a book.
Yeah, come back when you do, but I'm pretty sure everyone knows who he is. So I haven't really got to tell you too much about that, other than the point that we've already kind of said, that I think it was the fourth book that King wrote, but it was the first one that actually got published. So he was already writing before but getting nowhere, and this is the one that kind of broke him and got him out there. And as you pointed out, thanks to his wife, because he wrote so much of it and chucked it in the bin, which is kind of sad. And I think he was like 24, 26. He was a young man when he wrote Carrie. And what his wife said to him is, yes, you do need to finish this book, but please allow me to help you, because he was getting frustrated that he couldn't write
for a woman.
Yeah, he didn't know what women talk about. So really, and it's not mentioned enough as it is, but Stephen King's wife at that period, help.
Yeah.
In some ways, co-write this book, because she hadn't understand, which is...
Well, like how Carpenter had help on Halloween from Deborah Hill.
And I always remember Woody Allen saying that he drew on all his time with Diane Keaton for women's part, because he didn't have a clue what women talk about. So.
I mean, it makes sense. You have to have a man and a woman duo. To make a perfect
of course
little
it's the only
project.
It's the only way it works.
Yeah.
So King finishes, thanks to his wife, finishes Carrie, sticks it out. It's the first one to get published. He's paid a good sum of money for it. I mean, I was quoted somewhere like 400,000 or something, or some ridiculous amount of money for the rights for this book, but I might be completely off with that. That's just from memory. And at the time of writing it, he was very skint. They had their phone cut off in the home, so they were running out of money quick, him and his wife. And he was working, as he was writing, in an industrial laundrette, where he was paid something like £1.60 an hour.
That's nothing.
And he said that he drew the book around a lot of the people that worked in the laundrette were very religious, older women. And he was fascinated that they kind of lived their lives that way. So that was the inspiration for
the mom.
Yes. And the Carrie part, again, was influenced by a girl that he went to school with. It was very dowdy, kept herself to herself. And he said that she wore the same dress for the whole school year.
That's sad.
Yeah, very sad. because there is something of this story that connects with the misfits and the outsiders of the world. I think so. Like Carrie's quite a good universal story because there's a lot of us that who kind of connect with the Carrie character. I think.
And there's always one or two or three, even more, in a school that girls feel out of place.
Yeah,
and even
sure.
boys.
Yeah.
And they are bullied, and I think everybody can relate to it.
And the sad thing is, they just need sort of coaxing along, don't they? They don't need putting down or being picked on. They just need, encouragement to bringing out their better aspects, and they need looking after.
Yeah.
And if you're not prepared to do that, then don't ever piss them off.
Yeah,
right?
Because they might just come after
you. The worm does turn.
It does. Karma is a bitch.
And okay, anyway, so yeah, King's Book goes out, and it's this is success, we say. And then he kind of quickly goes off, Stephen King himself, and to write Salem's Lot, which is the next book he writes after Carrie. But so the film, so the rights to this book goes out. United Artists pick it up, turn it into a movie, a smallish budget movie, I should say, because it was made for 1.8 million, which is quite a small sum of money even back then. It was a small sum of money. And Brian De Palma, and as far as I know, it's kind of first choice to come in and direct this movie, which is interesting to me. Okay, I'll probably bore people to death now, but the previous film that he made, United Artists, I'm pretty sure it was for United Artists, is he was thrown off a movie called Get to Know Your Rabbit, which is the only Brian De Palma film I don't care about at all, because it doesn't resemble anything he shot. He basically got thrown off it, replaced, but they did stick it out with his name on, which really frustrates him to this day, because he said that's not the film I made. So putting Brian De Palma on this movie seems very strange. And what I should also mention is that Brian De Palma comes from a generation of directors, which isn't, for anyone who knows any of this, are known as the Hollywood brats. Because they were all roughly the same age. They were young directors in the 70s. A group, that consisted of Francis Ford Coppola, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Martin Scorsese, John Milius. A lot of these kind of people that did really well in the industry. And by 1975-76, all these people were up and established. Scorsese did, Mean Streets, Alice Don't Live Here Anymore, Taxi Driver and stuff. Coppola did, The Godfather. He was the biggest of the bunch, The Godfather. And The Conversation was going to go off to do Apocalypse Now. And George Lucas, he did American Graffiti and was sort of going into Star Wars. And the reason I mention Star Wars is because we have to stop it there for a second, because the auditions for Carrie are a whole story on its own. But Brian De Palma at this point, like I said, did a few independent pictures which were really interesting, I thought. Greetings, Hi Mum, some of the early stuff, which Robert De Niro's first parts as well, because Brian De Palma introduced Robert De Niro to Martin Scorsese, and the rest is history. But Brian De Palma himself hadn't had a hit at that point. He had made a small movie called Sisters, which I really, really like, which was the first of what's now known as his Hitchcock period, or his Red period, a period that Brian De Palma kind of found what kind of filmmaker he wanted to be. And from Sisters, which is a small thriller with Margot Kidder, which I absolutely love, he did a film called Phantom of the Paradise, which is my favourite Brian De Palma film, I may add, which completely flopped, but now is a big cult favourite now, but at the time it flopped. And then he did a film called Obsession, which was once again Hitchcockian thriller written by Paul Schrader, who there's connections all around here, and I could jabble on about this whole period of Hollywood all day. But at this point now, none of these films had really made a lot of money, or this is the first Brian De Palma film that was going to be big, that made his name to a degree.
Yeah.
And the Hitchcocky thing, it almost seems perfect now for this movie that Brian De Palma was the guy that made it, and this is the reason I mentioned it's Brian De Palma's Carrie, because Brian De Palma's fingerprints are all over the movie, in the same way that Stanley Kubrick made The Shining. We can sit there all day and go, it's Stephen King's The Shining, or it's Stanley Kubrick's. They're completely different things. To anyone who's read the book The Shining and seen Kubrick's movie God knows how many times, almost completely different commodities, completely different things. So bringing it back to Carrie, this really is Brian De Palma's movie. So the screenplay is written by a guy called Larry Cohen, or Lawrence Cohen, but not that Larry Cohen. No, not the genius behind It's Alive and God Told Me To and Q and all those great movies. But a guy who kind of mainly worked in TV, and then eventually I think he wrote the screenplay for the TV adaptation of It years later. So the Stephen King kind of thing continues there. And I got to mention the Hitchcock thing again, because Brian De Palma comes into this movie with his Hitchcockian techniques and ideas and things that he absolutely loves. He's self-confessed Hitchcock fan. And here, for this movie then, there's lots of in-jokes, especially Hitchcock in-jokes, which Brian De Palma getting famous for all these movie in-jokes, that he wanted Bernard Herrmann to score the movie first and foremost, which I want to say, who, was the famous Hitchcock composer who did the score for Vertigo and Psycho and North by Northwest, all these great movies. Bernard Herrmann was happy to do it because he'd worked with De Palma on Sisters and Obsession. So he came to so the idea was like, yes, we'll get him to score it, and he'll have this Hitchcockian vibe. But unfortunately, Bernard Herrmann died before they started production.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, and the last film he had just made was Taxi Driver for Scorsese. So again, there's lots of connections. So Hitchcock, Jesus, you want a bit Hitchcock now. Brian De Palma turned to composer Pino Donaggio, who's an Italian composer who wrote Italian pop songs before he became a film composer. His first film as a composer was Don't Look Now, which I still say is the greatest film ever made. There's the plug. So
with that guy in it, right?
Yeah, the guy who ruined Buffy.
The guy who doesn't listen to orders. Kind of sounds like somebody I know.
Yeah, but he's not in this room.
Yeah.
I say we're going to go straight off onto Revision here, but I will say that he did. But just, Sutherland does listen to a director when he feels like it, because obviously Nicholas Roeg, the great Nicholas Roeg, probably my favourite director of all time, with Hitchcock, who directed Don't Look Now. Donald Sutherland named his child after him. He's got a child called Rogue Sutherland, who he named that. So some directors did rub off.
Yeah.
That's me trying to pull him out the mud.
Well, he was already he was stuck in his way by the time he got to Buffy, so by then he's like, I'm not listening to anybody because I'm a big star. Yeah, I'm a big star now.
Because when you get older, you stop listening, and I know that for a fact. So what are
you trying to say?
Nothing. So Pino comes in on this one, Mr. Pino Donaggio. I love the name, right?
Yeah, sounds like a champagne, fine champagne.
So anyway, he does the first of his scores for Brian De Palma. This is the first time they worked together. I don't think he could speak English either, so they had a translator in the room as they were trying to do things. And I think he just kept saying like Bernard Herrmann. That was the only way he could get it across to him. And he delivers a brilliant score. It's probably one of my favourite scores ever.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
And
there's a 4-note motif in it, which is taken from Herman's Psycho score as a reference to Bernard Herrmann. Brian De Palma insisted they'd had this joke between them that they would kind of reference them. There's 4 notes of the Psycho score. And Brian would work with Pino on, Dress to Kill, Blowout, Body Double, Raising Cain. So they made a whole host of films afterwards where they got on so well. And there's also a sort of period where he was scoring really good scores. His scores are always really standout. He scored The Howlin', and he scored Piranha, and he scored Tourist Trap, lots of stuff.
Yeah,
but his stuff really.
I love Tourist Trap.
Yeah, it's great, and all this stuff really stands out for me. So first of all, we got the great director, we got a really good composer who they're so in tune with each other. These two as well, and the Hitchcock references continue because the school in Carrie is named Bates High School.
Oh, nice.
So there's tons of Hitchcock stuff going on.
Yeah, I never noticed that before.
Oh god, I could bore you with this stuff. And again, it was a time for high school movies to be made. American Graffiti, like I said, I mentioned earlier on through George Lucas. It was popular. Happy Days was on TV. It's very popular. So there was an audience for these kind of films that were based in this area. And again, I think we all refer to, we've did it already, but we refer to Carrie as a horror movie. And Brian De Palma said, when I was doing Carrie, I never once thought it was a horror movie.
What?
No, he said horror movies, and I've probably got it in quotes somewhere.
What, like somebody has to be stabbing somebody or something?
Basically, it's not a horror film. He said Hammer, vampires, Frankenstein, that's horror. This is not horror.
Really?
And Stephen King even says, when I wrote the book, I didn't write it as a horror book. I wrote it how women find their own ways of channeling their power.
Oh,
okay.
Could be. So he was ahead of the times there.
Oh, he'd be perfect now when he's imagine him spouting that now.
Yeah. He would be like praised, and they would make a statue of him.
Oh, absolutely. And I could think of a handful of women that would love those placards. So he goes into the movie with 1.8 million budget. And I'm just going to go back to the cast now, because this is a really interesting part of this movie. And also, once I've done this, I want to break the movie down into sort of 3 scenarios, which I think Brian De Palma cared as much for his character. I mean, in some ways, it's got like some of the warmest characters in any Brian De Palma film, but it's almost like Brian De Palma's films exist around set pieces, in the same way that Dario Argento's films sort of exist around set pieces. I almost think that they almost don't care about writing characters so much as they do about setting up a set piece.
Yeah.
Because that's what excites a director. There's 2 types of directors. There's directors that like to be visual, to tell a story through visuals, and then there's the director that likes to sort of get down on the level of the actors, and almost like theatre directors, people like Sidney Lumet and people like that.
Yeah.
But Argento feels very much like De Palma, that they care about big, grand set pieces. Which is funny because Argento and De Palma have been known as sort of disciples of Hitchcock. And Hitchcock was obviously the greatest, the master of suspense, as he's known because of his set pieces. So, like I said, the film breaks down into three areas, which I'll get onto once I've done the casting, because the casting is really interesting. When this was set up in 1975 to cast Carrie, obviously the as I mentioned earlier on, the movie Bright Generation, George Lucas held the auditions the same day as Brian De Palma while he was doing Star Wars.
Oh, no.
So the same people came in for roles. And how true this is, because there's a lot of rumour here too, that William Catt, who plays Tommy, auditioned for Luke Skywalker.
Oh, I could see that.
Amy Irving went in for Princess Leia. Sissy Spacek came in, had a go for Princess Leia. Linda Blair apparently was there somewhere along the line. I mean, that's That blows my mind.
Yeah.
I think she auditioned for Carrie, by the way.
Okay.
Melanie Griffith, Farrah Fawcett. All these people came in for these auditions. It's massive.
Yeah.
George Lucas settled on Carrie Fisher, who Brian De Palma. So we know this is where it becomes all confusing. Because Brian De Palma said, "Oh, I quite like Carrie Fisher playing Carrie, same namesake."
Yeah.
But she didn't want to do the nude scenes.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which she now, but before she died, she insisted that was a load of rubbish. I never said I didn't, but Brian De Palma insists that she did.
Yeah.
So she got Princess Leia, and the only other person that George Lucas said would have played Princess Leia if Carrie Fisher hadn't did it was Jodie Foster, who also turned up for an audition.
As Princess Leia.
Yes.
I could see her playing a Carrie part, but not Princess Leia.
Well, there you go. Like I said, the audition area is fantastic.
Yeah.
If you get a chance to read about any of those auditions, it's fantastic because there's so much to it. The amount of people who turned up for it.
Yeah.
Amy Irvin as well, who's in the movie as Sue. She
friend.
tried it for Carrie too.
Yeah.
While this casting was going on, once the cast was finally put together and they were ready to shoot this movie, Brian De Palma, who's really good friends with Steven Spielberg, I think he's like the godfather of Spielberg's kids, invited a young, goofy, single, geeky Steven Spielberg down to the film set. And at this time he sort of done Jaws, so he was established as well. And he came onto the film set, and apparently Brian De Palma said he went around like every female on the set and asked them all out. PJ Soul was like, he said he was just like terrible.
Who, Steven Spielberg?
Yeah.
Really?
All of them. And the only person
the
that
little geek.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Brian was like, oh, I'm working for a lot of young girls down here, and come down on the set, and you can try your luck if you want. So Spielberg was like straight down there. Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay.
And the only person that said yes was
Amy.
Amy Irvin. They got married.
Yeah.
And had a kid.
They?
Yeah.
And are they still married? No,
No.
They got
with
divorced.
Kate Capshaw now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but they were together. She was in PJ Soul was it like?
That's so funny. Well, it doesn't hurt. That's the thing right there. You got to keep asking to get that one answer, that one yes. So never give up.
But I will say, I mean, if he had done that in today's climate, would he have been known as a sex pest?
No.
No, I don't think so either. Because I think it's very innocent, really. But,
yeah, no, you can't be dubbed, perv until you do something pervy, I guess. But just asking girls out is just, he's trying his luck, as they would say. He's getting his.
But it worked out for him because he landed Amy Irvin.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on from the casting process, well. Although before I do finish the casting process, John Travolta was working on the TV show
Welcome Back, Kotter.
Thank you.
Love it.
Because I forgot the title. And apparently he was on a lunch break and nipped across and did a little audition. And they were like, oh, you want to be in our film? And he's like, everyone knows you. And I think he's got like second or third billing on the poster, which is strange because he's hardly in it, really.
Yeah. But he was pretty popular in
and that's why.
Welcome Back, Kotter. Yeah. He was like Vinnie Barbarino.
Yeah, and he was dressed up as the Vinnie character as well when he came over.
Yeah, and the turtlenecks, I think, and his jeans, and he's like, I forgot his saying, but it'll come back to me.
But yeah, that's it. That's how he got the part. And then Nancy Allen was just about to quit Hollywood at this point. She'd been auditioning for parts for years, and if anybody knows Nancy, there's a small part she has in The Last Detail with Jack Nicholson, and she's in hardly anything, a few little pieces here and there. But by this point, she was kind of like, if this doesn't work out for me, I'm quitting Hollywood. And of course, she turns out and nails the part in Carrie is.
She was good.
As the bully, yeah.
She was.
And also met Brian De Palma, which she married. So they met on that.
See, there you go.
So there you go, yeah.
Everything happens for a reason.
Always. So that's Nancy Allen. And then Piper Laurie was kind of desired for the part then. But she had been retired at this point. The last time she'd been on screen was in 1961 in The Hustler with Paul Newman, when she was nominated for an Oscar. And then straight after that, even though she'd made films before for Douglas Sirk, various other Hollywood directors of the 50s, she'd retired from the business, kind of top of family and stuff. But she was kind of seeked out for this part. And it was like, bring Piper Laurie back from retirement. And it's funny because the last film she made before this, like I said, was The Hustler.
Was it? Okay, The Hustler.
And then sort of 15 years later, they get her out of retirement to do Carrie, and she's Oscar nominated again. Yeah. Because she gets a nomination for Best Supporting Actress, which is great. And the funny thing about this whole thing is that Piper Laurie just couldn't stop laughing the whole filming process. She thought they were filming a black comedy.
Really?
Yeah, and Brian De Palma was like, no, we're making a horror film, and she just kept laughing. And Brian De Palma said she was great and very professional, but she kept laughing. And then Sissy Spacek, obviously, we got to finish off by saying...
Brilliant. So happy
it's fantastic that she chose Carrie. Again, though, wasn't particularly interested in acting at this point herself. She was married to set decorator Jack Fisk, and they had worked on sets for Brian De Palma's Phantom of the Paradise, so he already knew of them, and I think Jack Fisk was going to work on this movie, and he kind of nudged Sissy and said, why don't you audition for Carrie? You could go there and audition for it. And she was like, I'm not sure if I really want to do it, kind of thing. He said, oh no, he'd be brilliant, go down there. And then he kind of told her what the book was about, because she hadn't read the book, and he kind of told her what the book was about and stuff. She was like, oh, I'm gonna have a go for that. And apparently she turned up unwashed. She absolutely filled her hair full of Vaseline, so it was greasy as hell, and she put on like an old dress that her mum had made her, a sailor's dress, when she was in like 7th grade or something. And she kind of like walked in, and then they were like, oh wow, that's Carrie.
She looks like Carrie. Yeah.
And that's how she got the part. Betty Buckley plays the teacher. We're going to mention her as well. I forget the teacher's name now, because she's got a completely different name to what she does in the book.
The gym teacher?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was great, by the way. I love Betty Buckley. She's in Another Woman for Woody Allen, and also
because she stuck up for Carrie.
Yeah.
She?
Well,
sorta.
I'm gonna ask you your opinion on this in a minute. But yeah, so she comes in as you said, the gym teacher, and the sympathetic figure for so much of the movie. Great actress, again, frantic for Polanski. So done some other films outside of this now. And I think she had auditioned for Obsession for Brian De Palma before, so he kept her in mind. So she comes in for this role, even though she's only sort of 3 years older than Sissy Spacek.
Oh, really?
And I think she's 2 years older than Sissy, but 3 years older than PJ Soles, who's also playing one of Nancy Allen's friends. And we should mention PJ Soles because her part is quite distinct. And this is the part that landed her Halloween, by the way.
Yeah.
Deborah Hill seen this and was like, "Oh, get that girl with the cap."
Yep.
To play in Halloween, which is how she got the part. The PJ Soles cold.
Yeah.
But
totally.
Betty was a
totally
was 3 years older than the kids.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that, because she seems a lot older.
Absolutely.
And maybe it was just the way she portrayed it, came across.
And apparently, even though I don't see what Baroness has on the story at all, she played her as a lesbian. That was her angle.
Oh, okay.
She was a lesbian teacher, and that's why she had the sympathy for her.
Yeah, I didn't even get that.
No, it doesn't really come across to me. I'll be completely honest with you.
But that's how she described it?
Yeah, apparently that's how she played it.
Oh, okay.
And again, she does a great job, though. And I've got to go back to just what you're saying, because it does interest me. You kind of say, oh yeah, she's the sympathetic part and all the rest of it. But is she, though? Because isn't there a grin on her face at the prom when it goes wrong? Or is that in Carrie's head?
Yeah, I think that was in Carrie's head. I don't think so. But I think she tried to stick up for Carrie for the most part,
Yeah, it does.
Because everybody else
seems
was
that way.
picking on her.
Okay. I'm just going to break this film into 3 areas then, which I think the film works as sort of 3 main acts in this movie. And the first we've got to talk about would be the shower scene at the beginning, which is very pivotal to the movie.
Plug it up. It's so sad.
As she laughs.
Because it's just, them saying it is, ridiculous. So it's just a heart-wrenching moment. I felt so bad for Carrie. She was so,
Did you ever witness any girls from your school go through that?
Witness it? No.
Or anything like that?
Not like that. Like, that's a little bit too much, Like, I think, it's a movie. Hopefully. But then, you never know, because there are people that film it now, the kids bullying other girls and boys like that. And so it's hard to say.
All I can say is, luckily for Carrie, that no one had phones back then.
Right? Like, that would just be even worse.
Yeah, it's. I know. I'm talking about this scene, the actual scene, for a second, right? We can talk about the technical side.
I mean, I know it's happened. I just didn't. I've never, thank God, witnessed it, something that extreme.
But it's a powerful sequence, I think, and it's like I've seen it. I probably haven't seen Carrie for about 5 years now, but even the last time I watched it, I thought that scene still. It makes me feel really uncomfortable.
It does, because the whole thing about the movie is I feel sympathy for her, which is really good, because I think we've all been bullied in some way by people, and most of us have anyways.
Yeah, no,
or made to feel bad by other students, and you can get where she's coming from.
Absolutely, and I think most of us is sort of just told to sort of burying, get on, don't let it bother you, get on. But it's
like they try to do at the school. Oh, we're not going to do anything. We're just gonna let her go on her with her business. You know what I mean? So nobody really got in trouble. What they had to do, like 20 sit-ups or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's the kind of punishment they have.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, it's the slow-mo, soft focus kind of photography with the steam. It's very Brian De Palma, and it's almost like voyeuristic that these other girls are kind of. Because I was thinking Brian De Palma's films, there's a sexual angle, and it almost plays up that way before you start realizing what is actually going on here. And the Carrie character, she's like 16, so she's kind of starting it late, I guess, for a female.
Yeah, her period. Say it. Her period. She had her period. She's coming into womanhood.
Or for any of the guys listening. women's troubles.
Women's troubles. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, so it's cringy to even think about it. Like, just to think about, like, she was treated that way just for, all women
I
have
know,
to go
but
through.
because of her parenting, she had no idea what her body was doing, did she? Because her mum didn't talk to her.
Oh, it's so
There's
sad.
my tip. Parents, talk to your children.
Definitely.
All times.
I think a lot of parents talk to their children these
I'm
days.
joking.
I'm hoping they do.
Yeah, because we don't want another Carrie incident.
Yeah. No.
So, isn't that Edie McGlure in is she? Yeah, because obviously she's...
Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, thank you. And
She played
Elvira and
the
loads of other
secretary.
stuff.
Yeah.
And planes, trains and stuff. But she's in it as well, which I only realised, it was just ridiculous. I've seen this film about 20 times in my life, and the only other day it kind of caught me who it was. I was like, oh yes.
Yeah, which would be hard to believe. Like, was she throwing the tampons and the pads at her too?
I can't remember now.
Yeah.
Should have watched it, shouldn't I? But I've seen it enough to comment on
PJ
this.
was, for sure.
Oh, PJ was loving
she
it,
was
yeah.
nasty. She was a nasty little girl, that one. And so was Nancy Allen, of course.
Played to perfection.
Yeah.
Okay, so I said, a great opening sequence, Don Ajo's score, the photography, everything. And like I said, and a great sequence that really pulls you in straight at the beginning of the movie. Yeah, I can't say enough good stuff about that. Other stuff going on in that movie once the film takes off, that everyone knows the story of Carrie. Because I mean, if anyone's listening to this and they don't know the story of Carrie, then they'll probably think, what the hell's going on? But obviously it's a girl who goes to school, who's brought up in a religious household by a mum. It's a Roman Catholic house. By a single mum, no brothers or sisters, lives in this creepy house at the end of the street, and her mum kind of rules her life, and obviously doesn't tell her about the birds and bees. And then she kind of goes through this period of school where she just does not fit in with anyone. And eventually, one of the girls at the school, Sue, played by Amy Irving, takes kind of pity in her then.
Yeah.
And it's coming up to the prom, which will be the pivotal moment of the whole movie, which is the next scene we're going to talk about. And so she sets up her boyfriend, Tommy, played by William Catt.
Which is just weird.
Yeah, very. Because
a weird thing to do in the first place.
How is it going to ever come good? When she finds out that she's been duped, basically, or that this guy is
not really into her.
Yeah.
I mean, that's heartbreaking for any girl, especially one that's never had a boyfriend or never had guys interested in her. And then to think, oh, this guy just took pity on me, you know?
Completely.
Like that would be even worse. And then but to set your boyfriend up to do it, it's just a weird... I get her, she's having good intentions there, but just try and find her somebody else, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember you did a really, really, probably one of the best posts I've ever seen on any horror. Seriously, I mean this. It was Hope Wade's post in a group. The post was far too intelligent for anyone in that group. But it was fantastic.
It wasn't any of our groups then.
No, absolutely not. No, I wish it was, because it was great. No, it was, yeah. But the post was basically, did you ever think that the Tommy character had changed the way you felt about Carrie by the end of the movie? I know I've got to acknowledge it was like one of the best posts I ever read, because I was sat there thinking, oh, no one ever talks about these issues.
Yeah.
You know, especially for film fans, we talk about, best this, best that, but I love these kind of things where we're going to get involved in the characters for a second.
Yeah, I need to bring that one back, I think. I need to bring it into our new group.
Yeah, where we've actually got the brains to deal with it now.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, did you think he does by the end? Or is it
that
still...
he had feelings for...
Or did anything develop by the end?
I don't know. I think so. Or maybe he just actually thought that, hey, she is a really good person and I like her. Maybe if he didn't think of her as in like a sexual or attractive way, that he was attracted to her, like he could at least... I think by the end he did think, hey, she's sweet, she's nice.
And she don't deserve what she's
And
getting.
she doesn't deserve it. So I think that could be the angle.
Yeah,
that they were going for, because he was happy. It seemed like he was happy with her at the prom, like he was trying to make her feel good. He wasn't doing anything malicious, you know.
He wasn't yawning.
Yeah, he wasn't yawning.
Okay, so basically the story goes that because the film's heading towards this prom, but at this point in the movie as well, or the book, or whatever you're seeing this or reading this, we're starting to realise that Carrie has some strange telekinesis, telekinetic powers then, and which will manifest in this great grand sequence that ends the movie, which is what we're going to talk about now. The prom sequence from Carrie, which is an outstanding piece of film, has to be said, and I think one of Brian De Palma's like trademark pivotal moments.
Well,
I think the whole film anchors on this scene. The film builds up to this one scene.
Yeah, because telekinesis, I think, is something with the brain where you think, like, am I right?
Yeah,
like
I think it's the power to move objects.
Right, with your brain, and she was so manipulated by her mother,
incredibly so,
that she just went into her brain just took over. Do you know what I mean? Like she developed these supernatural powers?
Because her mum's got a way of making her feel guilty about any feelings that she has, or any sexual feelings that she has, or anything.
It was a sin. Like, you know, she thought she was going to go show off her dirty pillows to everybody. and she did. She didn't want to do it. You know what I mean? Like, she made her feel bad about anything sexual, about anything she made her feel guilty about. She didn't teach her anything because the mom...
Sorry, the dirty pillows are free me. Can we have a pillow fight later?
Yeah, we'll get dirty. Okay. Down in dirty pillows.
Sorry, go on.
But yeah, the mom just like totally was beating it in her head like over and over. Yeah. Like, it's a sin. It's a sin. I mean, to the point where she was locking her in the closet with that creepy ass sculpture of Jesus. Like,
I'm going to point out now that I've always thought it was. It's not. It's a model of Saint Sebastian.
What?
Yeah.
What is it?
Saint Sebastian.
And so it's not Jesus.
No.
On the cross.
No.
Really?
Saint Sebastian was martyred and shot with arrows.
Oh, yes.
Historical figure. There's a famous painting which inspired a movie.
I do remember that now.
That's terrible. I can't think of the guy who directed it. Not Julian Temple. Totally gone. But the same guy who did.
Well, it was like the creepiest thing.
That's killing me though.
I felt like I was in the room.
You did Jubilee, by the way.
What?
The guy who directed the Sebastian, because it got made into a movie and it was completely shot in Latin and stuff, and it's a bit of a sort of a gay cinema milestone there.
Oh, okay.
Which is me straying off for a second, but just trying to sum up what that image is in the covers. Because for years, it was Christ to me for years, until I kind of realised that it wasn't. But it took me a long time to realise that that's not what it was.
Well, anyways, it freaked me. Like,
completely.
When she was in the room with that thing, I was thinking that thing was going to come to life and get me or something. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, completely. I totally agree. And then, again, that's the thing that scared me, because I have to admit, of all the films that I've ever seen, Carrie is one of the ones that generally, like, disturbed me.
Yeah.
I mean, I seen Carrie for the first time then on TV.
Oh, very much.
When I was about 11 or 12. It's before I kind of knew Brian De Palma, all these people were, but I know it had an effect on me, and particularly that creepy ass little statue.
That little statue.
Saint Sebastian, I thought was Christ at the time. In the closet with the kind of glowing eyes and stuff.
And Piper Laurie, she was always pushing her religious beliefs onto everybody that she went door to door to. Do you know what I mean?
Which is the exact people that Stephen King said he witnessed in that laundrette when he wrote the book.
Yeah, because, you know, that's what they do. They come around and they constantly want you to join their religion. And so I just thought she did a phenomenal job at portraying somebody who goes door to door and tries to push her religion, and just, you could imagine what Carrie was going through living with that every single day.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, Piper Laurie just does it so good.
The performances,
she does. Even though she thought she was filming a black
comedy. She made me feel bad.
What, because of your dirty pillows?
Yes. Thinking, you know, well, I can't show off my dirty pillows. Maybe, you know, I shouldn't be showing off my dirty pillows.
Well, and that ends another show.
But I think she did a really excellent job. And I just had to mention that whole scene of Piper Laurie, like, just Carrie is made because of a product of her mother. And she gets these powers, you know, because I think of everything that she just, you know, festered up in her head, you know, thinking she had to go and pray for her sins every day, you know?
Yeah.
And locked in the closet and made to feel bad. And so I think it goes to show, like, there's certain horror films that can leave you. I think that's why it's a good story, and it was well made by Brian De Palma. Yeah, because it leaves you with, you know, sympathy for Carrie. You get freaked out by the mom and the religion aspect of it. It's just well put together.
Yeah, incredibly so.
Yeah.
It is. I mean,
you have different emotions all over the place with that movie.
Exactly. Yeah, and a lot of people say
Scared,
that. And a lot of people accuse Brian De Palma of being quite shallow and stuff with his films. It's all set pieces and razzle-dazzle and camera work and stuff. I think this is the one, if maybe only, Brian De Palma film where we actually really are invested in the characters too, which is you know, maybe down to Lawrence Cohen for writing the screenplay. I don't know, but it definitely comes together. The Saint Sebastian statue and pose, then again, I finally remember it was Derek Jarman who directed, the British director who directed. If anyone's interested in that side of the story, he directed a film called Sebastian, which is one of the sort of icons of gay cinema, which is a fantastic movie, by the way. So yeah, that's the statue.
I think I remember that.
That's the statue in the cupboard. Yeah, because the male cast spend about 85% of the film naked. That's probably why you remember it.
Yeah, that probably is.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me.
No dirty pillows in that one, just more sweaty sausages. So yeah, and
socks and balls.
What have you done to this show?
How can we turn Carrie so dirty? Her
I'm
mother is
sorry.
going to come
I'm
after
sorry.
me.
Yeah, Piper Laura's wait. I can hear the door. It's Piper Laura's at the door. And the pose that Piper Laurie poses it in when she's kind of pinned to the door, which we're going to get to her death sequence, which is fantastic, is based on the Saint Sebastian pose.
Yep.
It's the same pose with the arrows, but instead it's kitchen.
It's like kitchen knives,
yeah,
and
which is
I love
fantastic.
it's like potato peeler and everything else.
Yeah,
Just
and the great thing is that's a Brian De Palma idea, because that is not in the book, which I'll get to eventually. as well.
it's brilliant.
That's De Palma's. So let's bring it to the prom, which is probably, like I said, the key point of the whole. It's the key point of the movie, and it's also the thing I think most people remember about Carrie.
This is where it gets scary, people. Like, I am
Yeah,
scared
it's the freak
by
me out. It's the
Carrie's
freak me out.
face.
Yeah, right. And I'm going to get to that now because the film was shot, I think it was shot in like 50 days, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, so the myth goes, at least 25 of the days were filming this prom sequence.
Yeah.
That's how much time it took. And Brian De Palma would carefully storyboard these split screens and how he's going to do this. And it was a chance for him, I think it's a real chance for him to show off what he does best, which is create these suspense sequences. And he does it in such a clever way that for the whole of that sequence, and I can't remember if it takes about 20 minutes of film now, I'm not sure, but for the whole sequence then, we know exactly what's going to happen. We know exactly what's going on, because Brian De Palma is going to make sure we know. He's going to show us the tripwire, he's going to show us the bucket, he's going to show where Carrie's walking, he's going to show Nancy Allen,
I love it. And
John
it was-
Travolta watching,
yeah.
and the only person who doesn't know what's going on is poor Carrie, and that's
Yeah.
what. And so we're kind of drawn into like, oh no, we because we know, because
Yeah.
Brian De Palma wants us to
It's
know.
a suspense
Yeah,
of like, oh
which
my
is what
god, this
Hitchcock
is
was
what's
brilliant
going to
at.
happen. And,
Fantastic.
and I love how they did it even in like a slow motion kind of way.
Yeah, again, which will become another
Certain-
will become another Brian De Palma trademark, the slow mo, and he does
You know
it so
how I love
and
slow-mo.
Hope loves slow mo. But it's just such a wonderful sequence. The spinning camera when she has her like, because he gives her like the best moment ever, where she's never felt so special in her life, and you get this
I know,
Pinot
because she
Donaggio
won.
music, and the camera's doing this sort of 360 spin on them.
I know they fixed it.
And
Those
then-
little bitches. They
yeah.
fixed it so she would get up there. She would be
Because
on
the ultimate bully,
stage.
the ultimate bully prank is that she
Yeah.
wins it, so she gets on stage so they can douse her in pig's blood in front of the entire school, and that's their biggest, that's their main event for Carrie. But as we know, and anyone who knows the story,
It backfires on
it
them.
completely backfires, because in that one moment, Carrie just bursts, doesn't she? And it's like, I'm gonna finally vent everything I've built up for
Yeah.
God knows how long
Oh,
on
God.
everyone in this room.
And I would too. I would want to kill them all.
Yeah.
And this is why I love prom.
And she certainly does. And again, this is a good job you never went to a prom with
Yeah.
Hope Wade.
Yeah.
But yeah, she completely obliterates the room, basically, doesn't she, with fire and chucking them through the fire hoses and chairs and stuff. I will say there's a blast from the fire hose which hits PJ Souls, and apparently deafened her in the one ear for 6 months.
Oh,
and,
really?
and she was told by a doctor it won't come back, and then luckily it did.
Yeah.
So there's a reaction when she kind of slaps against the floor and you see her head go back, and that's what they filmed. That's the blast that took her ear, because she said, I'm not going to film that again.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's just all sorts of really good stuff going on in this scene, and there's a real high fought. And in the book, it describes Carrie covered in the blood as, I'm sure Stephen King describes it as like Brer Rabbit in Song of the South, the 1946 Disney movie, when he's covered in tar, and all you can see is his white eyes looking at the tar, and Brian De Palma shoots it as that, but covered in blood. Mm-hmm. And very expressive big eyes of Sissy Spacek is what stuck with me from that movie.
Oh, it's horrible.
That image really got under my skin.
It's like scary to look at the poster. Like,
Yeah.
like we have the poster on the wall and you just can see.
But even
like,
Gene doesn't. He won't sleep in it because of that poster.
No, he does not want to sleep in
He
here.
doesn't sleep in the
freaked
living
him for the
room.
longest time.
Yeah,
When
and
we
he'll only
first
sleep
had
in
it
here
out.
if I take down the picture.
Yeah.
So-
because those eyes, like just her, she has big eyes. That's all
Yeah.
you see is it's the big eyes, and
Don't be scared.
don't be scared. And that's a Steve and Maggie reference if
Yeah.
you don't have children.
Yeah, you're the lucky ones. So yeah, this sequence has everything at this point in the movie. What I want to mention as well, there's a scene in the film which I probably missed out somewhere, which I'm a little bit sad that I missed it, so I'm going to mention it now. Where Betty Buckley plays the teacher, and doesn't she slap one of the girls in the face? She slaps
Yeah.
Nancy Allen.
Yeah, Nancy.
30 takes.
30
They did that
takes.
30
Holy
times.
shit.
And the first 15 weren't getting anywhere. So the second 14 was Betty Buckley actually slapping Nancy Allen, because Brian De Palma was like, no, it's still not satisfied with your reaction.
Yeah.
So, ouch.
Yeah.
That's love.
Yeah. Smack her till she cries or bleeds
and then,
or something.
and then marry her.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Maybe he just enjoyed it. Who knows what they do in the bedroom? A little S&M going on there.
Yeah, not that kind of. We mentioned it earlier. And I got to bring it up again. It's just that used to just that one thing used to freak me out as well. The fact that Betty Buckley kind of smiles, and it's almost like she's laughing at Carrie as well. And all film, you kind of think, oh, she's so nice to Carrie. And all that. And
Was it after the blood hit her, or was it before? Was she happy for
they're
her?
all gonna laugh at you. They're all
gonna laugh
yeah,
at
that
you.
one.
I love
and I think
it.
it's somewhere in there.
I quote that phrase all the time.
Yeah,
just
when I
because-
get dressed to go to town. But like I said, I mean, I can't say enough good things.
Yeah,
about
I can't.
the
You know,
scene.
this is a movie because I'm a seasonal watcher of Halloween, so we're gonna have to put it on.
Oh, we certainly are. I know.
Yeah, definitely
even
watch just so I can see that one scene to see when she smiles, because I can't remember if it was the joy of that happening to her. I can't see that happening because it was done in all slow motion. So I think that maybe it was like she was happy for that moment, and then she saw that and it was just like, oh, you know, or like you said, it was probably in Carrie's head thinking they are all laughing at me.
I'm making this worse than it is now. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's what she sees in her head, and which basically they were all laughing at her. So yeah, she got her revenge, didn't she?
Oh, she certainly did. And also, I've got to mention as well, Sissy Spacek's whole, I mean, there's another story that I'll tell when we move on to the next sequence, but she believed in this project enough and give it everything right from her first audition. And even during this, apparently, the blood scene, because with the cameras and lights and stuff, it was congealing all the blood, so it was kind of setting and getting real thick on her, so it was uncomfortable to wear.
Yeah.
But she didn't wash for 3 days for continuity reasons.
Holy shit.
Just to stay in that one pose, and she slept that way and everything.
Really?
Yeah, didn't change dress, nothing.
Oh, Lord.
For continuity. That was her, like, this gotta look the same. So
that's how would you call it? That's yeah, I forgot the word, but I'll think of it in a minute.
It's always too late on the show, isn't it?
Yeah.
I knew what I was talking about. But I mean, dedication.
Dedication. Thank you.
Boom.
There you go.
I'm here all week. Yeah.
That's dedication.
Absolutely. And fair play to it, because it pays off in spades, because that sequence, I think, is for me personally, it's been one of the best pieces of cinema ever, and that is why Brian De Palma is one of my favorite filmmakers.
Wait, can I mention?
Yes.
Wasn't John Travolta and Nancy Allen in a car?
Yeah, which I'm getting to now. This is where I was going. They're not present. So the only two that are not present.
Yeah, they got out of the building before she went all.
Yeah, or were they not allowed to go? And they
No,
sneak in?
they snuck it. Yeah, they weren't allowed to go because they got in trouble. She
Yeah.
got in trouble for that whole prank. So actually, she didn't just get the sit-ups. I think she got for that whole
She
plug
got
it
banned
up.
from the prom.
She got banned from the prom. So she's like, well, fuck that shit. I'm gonna
Get in there.
and
Cause some
ruin
trouble.
her.
Yeah.
Ruin her night, because since I can't be prom queen, I'm just gonna ruin her night. So yeah, they snuck under the bleachers or under the stage and sit it all
I'd
up.
like front row seats.
Yeah.
For the blood drop in.
And then did the teacher smack her then? Like after she realized it was her, because she went back there and to see who was setting it up or something,
it might
and
be.
saw them, and I think she smacked her then. And then, but anyways, they ran out before.
Yeah. Because they're the only
shut
two
the
kind of not
doors.
present here, aren't they?
Yeah.
And Amy Irvin, who plays Sue, she gets out as well, because she's sort of the only survivor.
I think she ran after him. I think
Yeah.
she ran after Nancy. She was running after Nancy and them. She could be. I can't remember.
She gets out,
but-
doesn't she?
Yeah.
Because obviously she'll feature in the end, the
Yeah.
famous end sequence. But Betty Buckley dies, the gym teacher. She dies in the gym. She doesn't die in the book, apparently.
Oh,
She
okay.
survives the prom. Yeah, and I just totally thought of something else that I should have added to the Sissy Spit. It'll probably come back to me, or I'll kick myself after we finish filming. So yeah, they're the people who come out of the prom, and then they try
The car.
Yeah, they're in the
They
car.
get in the car
Yeah.
and try and drive off, and
Well, they
yeah.
try and run her over, don't they? Because they're like, oh, there
Well,
she
she's
is.
standing. Yeah, she
She's
came
in the
out
middle
there
of the
all
road.
nuts and like standing in front of the car.
Yeah.
And because they're like, oh shit, like she's looking all bloody, and
But they're like just kind of.
oh, they have no clue
Freaked
what's
out by this
going on
point, don't
because
they?
they already
Yeah.
left, and they didn't know everybody was already getting killed and slaughtered
But even though
inside.
the school is ablaze at this point.
Yeah, well, then they're just like, holy shit. But they're leaving, and they
Okay.
see her, and they try to run her over, and then Carrie does the eye thing, and all you see is like the big, that's my music,
Yeah.
by the way.
I
That's like the eyes getting closer.
Yeah, which again is Brian De Palma, and again not only Brian De Palma, but it's actually stolen from Hitchcock's The Birds. So the Hitchcock references keep going.
Yeah.
She flips the car. They die in the car crash, which is in the book. At this point in the book, though,
I was never so happy for somebody to die.
No, because they were a vile couple, weren't they?
Yeah, they deserved it.
Yeah. Anyone who's seen the movie will agree. The car flips and they die, and that's kind of basically where the Carrie book almost ends. The only thing which I'm kind of sad about is that in the book, Carrie continues her walk back home to her house.
She did walk home in the movie.
Yeah, but just bear with me. But she doesn't make it back to her house, and the whole town is on fire. She sets fire to the whole town, right? Which Brian De Palma wanted to film, but £1.8 million budget doesn't cut it, so we can't burn the house. We can't burn the town. Then I should.
I'm glad she did go kill her mother afterwards because you know.
Yeah, but that's not in the book either, sadly.
I know. Well, you said she sets. You would think she sets fire to the town that her mom would be in the house, so that just discounts. But no, I'm saying I'm glad she did run out of money and did it that way, so you get the satisfaction of the mother.
Well, Stephen King said he preferred Brian De Palma's ending to his book.
Yeah, I like it.
Your ending. Yeah, which is sweet of him. Because Carrie kind of dies in a field on the side of the road after she flips the car. After she flips the car, she dies there. So anyway, but she goes home. She has this face off with her mother where she bombards her with knives, which is a fantastic sequence.
Yeah.
She ends up in the Saint Sebastian's pose, pinned up against the door, and she's dead. And
beautiful. It's a beautiful vision of work there. I
think there's a scene in the book as well. It's a long time since I've read the book, and like I said, again, I prefer Brian De Palma's movie to the book. There's like a hail of rocks that kind of crush the house and stuff, and there's all sorts going on that's not quite in the movie. But I think Brian De Palma's movie hits the spot, which brings me to the last sequence I want to talk about in Carrie.
Yeah.
Which is the brilliant dream ending. So at this point, Carrie's gone home, killed her mum. She's also died because the house has collapsed on her, and that's the story kind of told. But what we do get for the ending of Carrie is a sequence where Amy Irving, Sue, who's the only sympathetic classmate in Carrie, who set her up with her boyfriend to go to the prom in a good way, even though it kind of backfired on her.
You think?
As this, it massively backfired. Not a minor boo-boo.
I know, so I get she was feeling sad and guilty at this point.
Yeah, and so we have the sequence where she kind of walks out slowly, Pino Donaggio's music's playing, and she goes to this self-made, grubby-looking little grave, which is all Carrie or whoever is paying for this Carrie's burial can afford. And she drops some flowers on the grave, and then this fantastic boom.
Jump scare.
Yeah, and almost like the first of its kind for a film to end that way. I mean, you can debate Cat People years ago coming up with the first ever jump scare, but for a movie to end that way, because that became a staple of horror movies forever. And we did a show on Friday the 13th going a while back now.
Yeah,
and the ending
was a jump scare.
Yeah, inspired by Carrie, which they openly admitted, right? So Brian De Palma comes up with this sequence. This completely is.
And you would say Jaws was like that too, I think.
I'm going to get there, right? So this sequence
I'm jumping ahead of you.
Yeah, so this sequence from 1976, Carrie. Brian De Palma, the hand out of the grave, jump scare, filmed backwards, got the actors to walk in reverse and stuff, which gives it an extra surreal feel if you watch it again. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Which was taken from Nicholas Roeg performance. Gotta throw that in. And a lot of people said it was also inspired by the hand at the end of Deliverance, which I can kind of see. But as Hope had mentioned, there's also a shout for Ben Gardner's head in Jaws that pops out the porthole when Richard Dreyfuss is under the water and the head pops out and it's like,
yeah,
which a lot of people kind of say, maybe because he obviously is close friends with Spielberg, maybe that was the kind of thing. But Brian De Palma says, if anything, and I've actually seen this come from him, he said, it would be the Deliverance, the hand in Deliverance, but he shot it in a way that resembles the scene from Performance by Nicholas Roeg. Great sequence, completely works. Every horror film to this day has pretty much got a jump scare to finish off now. So the influence of that movie keeps going and going and going. What I will say, the hand that does reach out from the rocks and grab Amy Irving, which we do get to find out is a dream sequence at the end, which is also very, very similar to a sequence that Brian De Palma would film at the end of Dress to Kill 4 years later, where Nancy Allen this time has the dream in it. So, but he uses pretty much the same kind of sequence again. It's not as effective as the one in Carrie though, but the hand that does reach out, which I was trying to say, is actually Sissy Spacek's hand.
Oh, is it?
They buried her.
Oh, nice.
She wanted to be buried. She said, if you're going to do that scene, I want it to be my hand that comes out the floor. So they put her in like a box under a load of rocks.
Yeah.
They buried her.
Oh.
And Brian De Palma said, I'm not going to bury. He said, I can't bury you, sissy. I feel terrible. So her husband did.
Her husband married
He was
her.
working on the set. He's like, I'll do it.
That's hilarious. Are they still married?
Yeah, they are. They are as well,
nice.
which is really sweet.
Yeah.
Apparently, Brian De Palma just said, he kept hearing, Sissy Spacek, you ready yet? Are you ready yet? Do you want me to do it yet? And he said there was times where we would just leave it there for a couple of minutes and you could just say, oh, is it good to go yet? Are we ready yet?
Yeah.
They're desperate to get out of there. But fantastic sport that she was.
I love how they put, it was just like, it looked like a for sale sign too. Like it was just like a stick with, and it says Carrie is buried here. Like
I know.
all in like kind of blood, dripping blood or spray paint or whatever it was.
It's such a poor burial for her, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so shoddy.
Because you're thinking, what's going on? Like, did they really bury her like that? But no.
It's all a dream,
It's all
folks,
a dream.
but a very effective one.
Yeah. That's good.
Fantastic. So 1.8 million, it turns over for 33.8 million, so it makes a lot of money. We're talking, it made 32 million basically, which is incredible. And it also went on to give Oscar nominations for Sissy Spacek and for Piper Laurie, and also established Brian De Palma's career. He went on to film a big movie for Fox right after called The Fury. The rest is history. He was he was established at that point.
And still, over 40 years later, it's like one of the most iconic films.
Yeah.
And
I mean, even talking about it now, I want to go and watch it. I want to see
yeah,
Carrie
me too.
again.
It's like, I don't ever get sick of it. Like I said, they always play it during Halloween, but in the States, they always play it at Halloween and other times, but it's always a staple. That's one movie you want to watch every season.
Yeah.
At least once a year.
Yeah.
Once a year,
It's
I've watched it.
It's a fantastic movie. I think, I mean, who cares? But I will mention that Quentin Tarantino said it was in the 10 best films ever made.
Yeah,
So
I think so too.
okay. So just before we kind of finish up now, as we're coming towards the end of another show, I know, I can hear you all crying. The sequels and remakes, we'll touch on them really quickly, because there is, as you, before we come on air, you were like, oh my God, did you ever see The Rage? Or you mentioned The Rage, which was an awful 1999.
No, I think I said I was going Carrie the Rage. I'm turning into Carrie the Rage right now.
Which was an awful sequel made in the night. It's far too late. And Amy Irving was actually the only connection.
She was in there.
She played the same part again, but this time she was a teacher.
Teacher, yeah. There you go. It's been a while since I've seen that one, but I know it was shit. Yeah. Sorry.
And Amy Irving may be the only reason you might want to look at it for 2 minutes.
Yeah, and then they did the remake.
Yes, in 2002 with Angela Bettis from May. She pointed out.
Yeah.
I've never seen that one, so I don't know.
I didn't mind it, but it's no Carrie. But she does, I think just because that girl is like a quirky, homely
she almost
looking.
is a Carrie-esque looking girl.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that's why it made it watchable, but it's not great, but it's watchable.
Yeah. I think the only thing I ever read about it is her performance is good.
Yeah,
the rest
it is.
Which you've just said, so thanks, Hope.
Yeah, so her performance is good. And then they did the one with...
which is the last... Which is bring it right up to date, because it got made into a musical as well. Of all things. Can you imagine the Carrie?
It was awful. This is when you get the... How do you do it? The CGI movement of things.
Which is not the musical, but the actual remake that they eventually did. They did a 2013 remake of Carrie, and the only good thing I can say about that one, because I did see that one, was that Julianne Moore plays the mom.
Yeah, I didn't like it. See, I didn't like it at all. I don't care if Julianne Moore was the mom, and just the whole thing was awful.
Who played Carrie? Was it
that
Chloe Grace?
Yeah, Martinez or something.
Yeah.
She's always like really good and stuff, and kind of has that odd, look to her.
Just not as good as Julianne Moore.
What?
But,
I love Julianne Moore, but yeah, I just didn't like the movie, so that's probably why. If it's the movie in a whole sucks, I don't care who's in it, unless it's Jason Priestley, maybe.
Oh, I'd still watch there it was. So just before we clock off, Beverly Hills 90 bloody 210 has crept in once again.
Oops, sorry.
Of course you are.
Just had to mention it. So, yeah.
Okay, so just a little shout out to the groups and stuff. Hope.
Oh, yeah. Come join us on Facebook at Sound and Vision, because we all join in and talk about movies like this, and we can get your input and see if you love us, if you don't like it, if you like the sequels, if you don't like the sequels or the remakes. Even we have a horror group called Nightmare Cinema, and we talk about it in there too. So come and find us on Facebook.
And if you just say whatever you want, even if you don't like us, we won't read it. But
we're also on Instagram, so look for us on there too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks everyone, especially this time. Listen to this one. This is Carrie. And for today, until we meet again, this is Ian James saying goodbye.
And this is Hope saying goodbye.
Goodbye.